I must say that when I was asked to make this speech, I was overjoyed but extremely nervous. I was not sure what I would speak about, but after some discussion with a friend of mine, also a De La Salle alumni, she recommended that I simply tell my story. I must admit that initially, when I received this advice, I did not believe it was as helpful as she intended it to be. So if I bore you to death, you have her to blame. Chapter 1, My Life in the Neighborhood. I was raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. She wanted nothing more than to see her children succeed in life. She did her best to provide a life that was better than hers. All she wanted was for us to do better than she did in life by accomplishing more than she had in life. And all I wanted to do was grant her that wish and make her proud. I knew failure was not an option. However, I did not know where to begin. How could I possibly do better and make her proud? When looking outside of my window, there were no examples of anyone doing better. How could I succeed coming from a community where the number of high school dropouts exceeded the number of graduates? I grew up in Northeast Portland, in what today is known as the Alberta Arts District. But let me warn you, my community is not the same community that it is today. I'm talking early 90s, before the yoga studios, last Thursdays, and unlimited bike racks. At that time, Northeast Portland was a poverty-stricken community, torn between gang violence and drug addiction, with one of the highest crime rates in the city. I remember sleepless nights of waking up to gunfire and police sirens. I remember going to sleep on an empty stomach because there was no food to eat, and waking up to no electricity because we couldn't afford to pay the bill that month. I remember getting dressed in the dark and taking cold showers before heading out to school. That was my life, yet I was supposed to make something of myself. I knew I wanted something different. I prayed for a change, a sign, an opportunity. The sign I had been praying for came when I was in the 8th grade. I was playing basketball at the Blazer Boys and Girls Club, as I did every day after school, when a representative from De La Salle handed me an information packet for the school that works. Now at this time, I didn't think anything of it because she gave packets to anyone that would accept one. Nonetheless, after reading the information packet, I knew De La Salle was the place for me. I ran home, I gave the information to my mother, and told her that I wanted to go to De La Salle. I think I took my mom a minute to realize what I was saying because she simply looked at me in silence as if I was crazy. Once the awkward silence wore off, my mother asked if I knew De La Salle was a private school. I said yes. She then asked how much tuition was. I replied, "What's tuition?" I had attended only public schools up until this point, and we never paid for tuition. I began to feel defeated because I knew my mother was not in a position to take on any additional financial responsibilities. I contacted the representative the next day and asked if De La Salle provided scholarships, as my mother had suggested, and the woman said yes. However, she explained that it depended on funding and was not a guarantee. She also explained to me that each student worked 1 day a week to offset the cost of tuition. All I remember her saying is yes and scholarships. I knew I was in. A few months later, I received my acceptance letter from De La Salle and was granted a full scholarship. I knew my life was about to change. Next chapter, the De La Salle experience. De La Salle pushed me like I had never been pushed before. De La Salle challenged me academically, mentally, and spiritually. De La Salle taught me the importance of paying it forward through service, by helping those that are less fortunate, and by always giving back to your community when given the opportunity. De La Salle exposed me to classes that prepared me for college, leadership opportunities that prepared me to be the person I am today. De La Salle afforded me countless volunteer opportunities, such as delivering meals to the homeless, which taught me compassion and empathy. Most importantly, De La Salle never let me forget that I was in the holy presence of God. I remember freshman year sitting around with Mr. Powell and a few other students when Mr. Powell asked me what I plan to do after graduation. At this point, I had not put much thought into my future. I knew I wanted to graduate, but beyond graduation, I had no clue. I told Mr. Powell that I would take some classes at Portland Community College and see where it took me.
McKenna Erickson, please
That's it. So I told Mr. Powell that I would take some classes at Portland Community College and see where it took me. I could tell by the expression on his face that he had other plans in mind. Mr. Powell went on to explain that I could attend a four-year university and that if I did well at De La Salle, I could potentially earn a full scholarship. My mind was blown. I immediately made that my goal. After persistence, prayer, and endless support from my mentors and teachers at De La Salle, I was inducted into the National Honor Society and remained on the honor roll at De La Salle for all 4 years. Not only was I the first person in my family to graduate from high school, I continued on and graduated with a bachelor's in criminal justice and later on a master's in administration of justice and security. De La Salle saw my potential and helped me reach my goals and exceed my expectations. Chapter 4, the future. As I approach my 10-year mark since graduation, I can honestly say that De La Salle changed my destiny. Now, as a Portland police officer and Z-Man Scholarship mentor, I am blessed with countless opportunities to pay it forward, with the hopes that one day I can change the destinies of someone else that may find themselves heading down the wrong path. I am grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to attend, learn, and grow with De La Salle. I believe that De La Salle has already had a huge impact on its surrounding communities, and through my interactions with the communities, both personally and professionally, I can tell you that they appreciate the positive change that De La Salle has brought about. I believe that without these experiences, I would not be standing here today. De La Salle exposed me to a standard of life that I did not believe I could achieve. De La Salle changed my destiny when I could not change it for myself. As I bring my story to a close, I just want to thank you for your time and thank you for this opportunity.